Hey, what's up? I'm Chelsea of Friday Pattern Company, and today we have a very quick little hack video for you about how to hack the Saguaro set pants to have, we're removing the waistband and creating like a more integrated waistband drawstring with elastic, and we'll show you how to add inseam pockets, and we'll just have a little bit of fun along the way. So let's get started. The fabric I'm going to be using is a linen rayon blend that I picked up at Hearts Fabric. It's got kind of like a flowiness to it, but enough body to be really comfortable for a pair of summer pants. So we're just going to make a small adjustment to the front of our pants, and I'm not going to do this slash pocket, so I'm going to square this off. I'm just lining this ruler up along this line to make sure it's square. It matches up with that top one. So this will be my new cutting line. For this hack, you'll only need a few of the pieces. So you'll need your drawstring piece, your pants front, and your pants back pieces. And then we are providing a new pocket file. So there's a download link in the description of this video. And that's just for an inseam pocket rather than the pockets that are on the regular Saguaro set. It's just going to be more low profile. And so you can download that for free and add it to anything, really. So because the way we're going to be doing this, the waistband is going to be integrated into the pants front rather than having a separate waistband piece. So we need to place the buttonhole that the drawstring is going to come through. It's going to be 1 3/8 inches down. So I'm just making a little line here. And then let's do it. So we've got a 3/8 inch seam allowance here, and then probably want to put it at least another 1/2 inch. That would be 0.78 inches in. So it's about 3/4 of an inch in. This doesn't have to be super precise, but basically we know that the center of our buttonhole is going to be right there. The buttonhole itself is going to be about 0.6 inches. So I'm just centering that and drawing it up, drawing it down. So there is our new buttonhole mark. We're going to do the drawstring a little bit different on these pants. So our first step will be to fold our drawstring piece in half, right sides together. And you're just going to sew along this long edge, coming all the way down. And then when you get to the end, you can actually sew up, pivot and sew up one end. You'll have one end loose that we can flip it right side out. So you'll do that with both of your pieces, and then we'll check back in. Here's that sewn up, and it's kind of hard to see. This thread matches really well, but this is the end that I sewed down and pivoted. So I'm just trimming this corner away. Just going to trim away a little bit of excess fabric. Now I'm just attaching a safety pin to one end. And we're going to flip this right side out by just kind of scooching the safety pin in and then running it down to the end. Okay, so now that's flipped right side out, but our safety pin's still in there. And you just unhook it carefully. This is the least finicky part when you don't have the opening on the other end to pull it through. Once you get it open, you can kind of carefully shake it out. You could also use like a loop turner or, something pokey to try to push the safety pin, or it's to use instead of a safety pin. But I still, even though this part is a little bit funky, I still find it easier to use a safety pin. Great. So now I'm going to give this a press, and I'm going to repeat that with both of my drawstring pieces. Okay, here I have my 2 drawstrings, and this is the edge that is finished, and this edge is still raw. I have a little 12-inch piece of elastic here. This elastic is a little bit narrower than the drawstring itself, but that doesn't matter because you're not going to see it. It's going to be inside the waistband that you create on your pants. And it's just because trying to tie just like a cloth drawstring around your hips can be uncomfortable. So it's uncomfortable, and I don't think it holds your pants up very well. So we're adding a little bit of elastic to give it a little bit of extra springy support. So I'm just clipping those together at that end and then making sure this is not twisted, and I'm grabbing the other raw end of my drawstring So you're just going to take these to the sewing machine and use, just stitch back and forth a couple times across here on both sides. Here is that sewn. And then I went ahead and I sewed it a couple times back stitching, and then I folded it down and stitched one more time just to make sure that this is really secure. So this will be our drawstring. And just so you know, because of the added stretch here and this elastic in general, the drawstring will be longer than the regular Saguaro set drawstring. You're gonna have a longer tie, so keep that in mind. If you want to shorten it, you can, but I think a long drawstring looks great as well. Okay, so our first thing we need to do is mark this buttonhole placement on the right side of our front piece. So I'm just lining it up on my pattern piece, and then I'm just going to fold it back so that I can see it. So there's that mark. And then you're just going to need a little scrap of fusible interfacing, and I'm just going to take this over to the iron and I'm going to fuse it behind the buttonhole so that that fabric is reinforced when I add it. And I'll repeat this on both of my front pieces. Okay, so I have that marked and I have my interfacing fused onto the back side. Now I'm going to add these buttonholes. So if you're ever making a buttonhole using your automatic buttonhole foot and you don't have a button to size it with, you just use the size of the buttonhole. So just adjust it until these little, this spacer is the same size as the buttonhole that you want to make. So here's that buttonhole sewn, and I've cut it open. Okay, so next up we are going to prep our pockets to be sewn in. So you're going to finish them around the curved edge. You'll do that to all 4 of them. Now we're going to attach our pockets to our side seams. So I have my front A piece facing right side facing up, and I got a little overzealous and I already finished this edge. You don't need to have finished it at this point. I just was like, I'm finishing everything at the serger, and I went too far. So you have a notch right here on your pattern, and we're going to match the upper notch on our pocket piece with that notch and just pin it in place along the side seam. And then we're going to stitch 1/4 inch from the edge along here. So just down the straight edge of the pocket. And you'll repeat that on both front pieces and then also both back pieces. Okay, here I have that sewn, and now you'll just go ahead and finish the side seam and the pocket seam together. And then we're going to flip this out and understitch it. So here I've added the understitching. You flip the pocket away from the right side, and then you just stitch 1/8 inch from that edge, and that holds your pocket in so that it doesn't kind of flop outward on your finished garment. Okay, so this is my front piece facing right side up. I've got my pocket understitched, my side seams are all finished, and then I'm just going to lay my back right sides together right on top, and we're going to sew our side seams, and it's going to include our pockets. So how we're going to do that is we'll start at the top, we'll stitch down, and you're gonna stitch down, and then you're gonna stitch around the pocket, and then you're gonna get to here, pivot, and then sew down the rest of the side seam. Here's that side seam finished and then pressed towards the front, and our little pocket is right here. Now we're going to join our inseams together. So right sides together. We'll just fold it like this, and we're going to sew down this inseam, and then we'll finish it, and we'll repeat on both sides. Here we have our inseam sewn and finished, and this is one leg inside out. I've got one leg right side out, and I'm just going to stuff it in there so we can sew the crotch seams right sides together. So I'm matching up the fronts. I'm going to match up the crotch seam. And then we'll match up the backs. Just going to add a couple more clips in to hold everything perfectly in place. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to take this to the machine and sew it using a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then I'll finish the seam. Okay, so now I have my pants assembled and I finished this waist seam. And to create the waistband on this, we're just going to be pressing it under 1¼ inches. So we'll just take it to the iron and I'm just going to press it under, going all the way around 1¼ inches. Here that is pressed under, and next we are going to stitch 1 inch from this folded edge to create a tunnel for the drawstring to go through. I know this looks a little funky because the chalk got into the thread, but when I wash it, it'll come out. And also once it's drawn up, you won't see it as well, but be careful with those chalk liners, especially on light fabric like this. I should have known better. Okay, so now I have my little tunnel sewn and I got my drawstring from earlier. Just gonna grab a safety pin. We'll attach it to one end and then we're just gonna run this through. So then once you pull it out the other side, you can kind of inch everything in there so that the elastic once you have it all pulled through, you can kind of feel around to make sure it's not too twisted in there, and then even out these strings. Cool. So here's what they look like. I'm going to try them on and we can kind of experiment with the length because I'm thinking I might want them a little cropped. Okay, so we've got good news and bad news here. I'll start the bad news. The pockets are way too low. They're comically low and I don't know what I was thinking, but I don't know. It happens to the best of us. I think if you wanted to add these pockets, you should probably measure like 3 or 4 inches down on the side seam and start them there. I think I'm just going to take the pockets out completely because this fabric is so light that you can see the fabric bunching underneath and I just don't want that. So I'm going to take them out and sew up that side seam. The good news is that I love the way they fit and it is like my vision of how I wanted it to kind of sit right below my belly button. I like the way that this height looks. It's hard. Sometimes I don't like wearing things of this rise because if they're too tight, it's really uncomfortable. Like I don't like tightness on like my belly as much as it feels okay when things are tight on my waist. But the elastic in the drawstring gives it just enough support to feel comfortable and like it's not going to fall. It feels comfortable, like they're not going to fall off of my body, but they're secure enough because of that elastic that they're going to stay. I like the length, so I'm going to keep that. And yeah, I'm just going to make those changes and then I'll report back. And here are the finished pants without those pockets, and I gave them a little hem at the bottom. I really love how comfy these are. They're basically pajama pants, and I think I'll be wearing them as both outside pants and pajama pants. I know this tutorial was short and sweet, but I hope that it was helpful or inspiring, and if you decide to make these, I hope you have fun sewing, and yeah, we'll see you next time.